What is the scariest theory known to man? The Great Filter. The idea that we see no other civilizations out in space because they hit some wall that made them go extinct. Whatever it may be, it could be the reason we see no intelligent life out there. The question is, are we past the filter, or is the worst still to come? Damn, between this and the dark forest answer, I think the correct answer to Op's question is the Fermi paradox, and any answer scariest is given to it. The dark forest theory, that there are lots of other advanced civilizations out there in space, but they're concealing their presence because they know how suicidally dangerous it is to be broadcasting your planet's location out to the universe. Edit. Every variation on the reply "yeah, I watched that scariest video too" has been commented about 100 times now. Save yourselves the wear and tear on your favorite thumb, guys. While I have your attention, I'd like to recommend the excellent YouTube channel Quinn's Ideas, whose video regarding the dark forest principle I did actually recently see. Or Terese, an advanced species that essentially seeks out and eliminates all other intelligent life, which is why we haven't heard from them. And we are just waiting our turn to be discovered by the hunters. This just sounds like Mass Effect Reapers, haha. Ah, yes, Reapers. The immortal race of sentient starships allegedly waiting in dark space. We have dismissed this claim. I heard on another thread about what would be the scariest thing found at the bottom of Mariana's Trench, and someone said the top of a skyscraper. This is the correct thread for bedtime. Ha ha ha, good lord, I was just thinking that. Hi, did I look? Why do I always have to look? That at any moment at any given time some unknown cosmic thing could come from outer space and wipe us out in a blink, vacuum decay or gamma ray burst. Even our sun could just produce a huge enough solar storm and we are basically doomed. It's scarier if you think about the fact things unimaginably far off could do this, and due to the length of time it would take to reach Earth, might have already happened and we wouldn't know it yet. And with vacuum decay we'll never know. That shit travels at the speed of light, so everything would look fine and suddenly nothingness. Solar storms and GRBS would just screw us over to slow death. But vacuum decay doesn't mess around. This doesn't sound like too bad of an end to things. Instantaneous is nice. The theory that ducks with me the most is that space is infinite. I can't wrap my head around the idea of something having no boundary or end, and it creeps me out that it's possible. Edit. All of these replies have been super fun to read and the upvotes blew up too. Anyway, thanks for the replies and upvotes, guys. You all have a place in the infinite space of my heart, lol. I might butcher this, but I think there is a theory that space is finite but boundless in 3 dimensions. Hawking discusses this in A Brief History of Time. Similar to how to a two-dimensional being sitting on a sphere, the sphere would seem to go on forever, but in reality it is just their inability to perceive the third dimension that they are unable to recognize it as a sphere. We may well be in a similar scenario. What we perceive as boundless nothingness may just be a hypersphere that could be perceived as a well-defined finite shape from a fourth-dimensional perspective. I think one of the stranger implications of this theory is that if we shot a rocket out into space, it could theoretically make it back to Earth even if traveling in a straight line. Cold death of the universe. That the speed at which the universe is expanding is to the point where gravity will never pull it back. Matter will spread out and cool down and decay until everything, everywhere, just stops. Forever. So the universe is essentially a firework? Edit. I'm genuinely surprised how many Katy Perry stans this comment drew out of the woodwork, lol. A very slow and sad one, but yes, edit. I know it's fast, you can shut up now, I get it. The fact that it would take 8 minutes for Earth to know that the sun exploded, and it could have exploded 7 minutes ago. Earth would maintain orbit for those 7 minutes too. That theory that you're a bitch if you make 2 trips to carry in your groceries. Quantum immortality. If correct, it guarantees that you will never die. It guarantees nothing else. Wouldn't you still die if something happened that was impossible to survive? Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't quantum immortality mean if it's possible to survive something then you will survive no matter how slim the chances are? It also means that if there's a possible series of events that avoids getting into the unsurvivable situation, you won't get into it. Wouldn't this theory also imply that your conscious self is the only real person on Earth? Because we know that other people can obviously die, but you can't, because you can't be in a state of being aware of your own death. So is everyone else around you even alive, or are they just mindless puppets following a set course of events that has to happen to ensure you can't die? And if that were the case, how would we even know that we are alive and conscious? If the people around you are following a set course of events to ensure you live, then are you doing the same without even realizing it? Oh shit guys, he found out we're all NPCs. Edit. I've revealed too much information. The men in black are showing up everywhere I go. Thelockpicker 123, before they catch me, I have to warn you about The theory of proton decay, where every single bit of baryonic matter will eventually just spontaneously dissolve into radiation and fundamental particles, guaranteeing that there will be no survivors at the end of the universe is. Yeah, terrible. Genuinely asking here, isn't the impending, but incomprehensibly far in the future, heat death of the universe a fairly widely shared, well-grounded theory at this point? I'm not sure if the two are actually interchangeable, so maybe this is a moot point. I don't know shit about shit, so please feel free to ignore me. There would still be matter with heat death, just cold and no interaction. The idea though is that, given enough time, it may be that protons decay too. If that is the case, then not only would the heat death occur, there would be no matter, either. From bleak to bleaker, really. Not really a theory, but being the oldest person alive. Therese, just something so chilling about the fact that literally every human that existed at the time of her birth is now dead except for her. She's the last of the human race in her snapshot of time. It'd be wild to live life as a completely normal person for the vast majority of it, but be thrown into fame at the very end. You'd hit your 70s and 80s to see the cohort of people you grew up with begin to drastically thin out. In your 90s, you'd probably lose the last person you knew during your childhood. Then you live another 20 years after that. I recently lost both my grandmothers, one at 90 and the other at 99. It made me think about this quote and who those people might have been for whom they were the last people to have known them. Someday soon, perhaps in 40 years, there will be no one alive who has ever known me. That's when I will be truly dead, when I exist in no one's memory. I thought a lot about how someone very old is the last living individual to have known some person or cluster of people. When that person dies, the whole cluster dies, too, vanishes from the living memory. I wonder who that person will be for me. Whose death will make me truly dead. Irvin D. Yalom, Love's Executioner and Other Tales of Psychotherapy. My mother was the last of her 7 siblings to pass away. She felt incredibly lonely and became extremely depressed. Her mental health declined with dementia. Most of her siblings died before dementia set in. They were the lucky ones. Music theory. I swear, when someone asks literally the most basic question on music theory, there are always people who answer with an entire ducking essay worth of explanations. Can't really blame them though, since some questions don't have concrete answers in the world of music theory. A lot of things are vague. I mean, try explaining what a tonal center is to someone who knows nothing about music theory. That a more stable form of vacuum exists, AMD. If it did, we would collapse into it. It could be headed towards us now and we literally would never know it's coming. And naturally, the unfathomable horror of this completely inescapable, even completely unknowable terror that could have theoretically happened in the time it took me to finish typing this sentence is given the suitably awe-inspiring name of false vacuum decay. Yeah, but what are the odds? This man transcended the idea that the uncanny valley is because of the ancient hominins we used to interact with during the Pleistocene. Sure, there were interbreeding events, but imagine if you had no idea what a Neanderthal or a Denisovan were and saw one for the first time. You and your family have been traveling far from home and seek refuge in a cave for the night. You get a fire going, everyone starts to relax. Then out of nowhere, this almost human-looking being walks up. You all panic and run. Reacting with fear was probably the easiest way to make it out of an encounter like that alive. Imagining this with a modern context gives me the ducking willies, good lord. I'm sure glad dogs don't have this, such variety in their forms. It'd suck if they're scared of each other.